OP is divorcing her husband after he unalived their family dog. I 32F have been with my husband 33M since we were in high school. At the beginning of our relationship, everything was perfect. He was the perfect guy, and he truly treated me like a princess. I must add that both of our families are extremely religious. My husband and I got married at 21. We later had our daughter Elena when I was 25. When I was 26 years old, my grandmother passed away. We ended up taking on her dog Fido as a way I could stay close to her. 2 years ago, things took a turn. My husband got laid off from his job and struggled to find a new one. Luckily, his parents were wealthy, so they still paid for everything for him. He felt less of a man because he couldn't provide for his family, and he began to become more and more depressed. And that is when his drinking began. Last year, he began to become more and more aggressive with his drinking. He started to do things like punch walls, verbally abuse me, or force himself on me. I tried to talk to our parents about this, but they were in agreement that we had made vows, and I promised to be there for him in sickness and in health. My parents told me divorce was off the table, and I wouldn't be let into their homes if I did because it was a sin. So for months, I put up with his alcoholic behavior because I knew I had nowhere to go, and I always hid his behavior from our daughter, who idolizes him. Because of all of this, I dealt with it, even when his abuse turned physical. Last month, Elena was at her friend's house, and I was sitting on the porch reading while Fido ran in the lawn. My husband came speeding down the road, swerving while at it. I noticed he wasn't stopping, and I immediately stood up. The next thing I knew, he lost control of the car, spun into our lawn, and hit Fido. My entire world was shattered. I ran to Fido's lifeless body crying. My husband fell out of the car drunk, reeking of booze, claiming it was an accident. Neighbors saw and called the police. My next-door neighbor ended up grabbing me and taking me to the animal hospital. Unfortunately, I felt Fido take his last breath on the way there, and he was pronounced dead at the hospital. My husband was arrested. I couldn't believe it. He took the last thing I had left of my grandmother. The next day, I contacted a lawyer and filed for divorce. I called and told my parents, and they ripped me a new one, saying they understand my hurt. But it's my Christian duty in marriage to help him through this patch. They even said it was just a dog. That was enough for me, and I hung up on them and blocked their number. I grabbed my daughter and all of my essentials, and we've been staying at a hotel. My husband was bailed out by his parents a few days later, and has been blowing me up since he saw the divorce papers on the table. Family and church members have been blowing up my phone, urging me not to let the devil consume my heart. So Reddit AITA, for divorcing my husband after he unalived my dog while drunk. Comments. Pandora Tastic. NTA, he has already accidentally unalived one member of your family. It is right that you should protect the remaining members of your family from further accidents. I cannot speak for your religion, but I believe that he already broke his vows to you through his abuse of you. In my opinion, once he broke his vows to you, you should no longer be bound by the vows you made to him. Vegetable Cod 2340. NTAOP, you're not divorcing him because he unalived the dog. That was just the last straw. He's not the same man you married, and is a danger to you and your child, and your duty as a mother is to protect her above all else. And please block anyone who tells you that staying with a violent drunk is the right thing to do. Update. 1 day later. Hello everyone. First, let me say wow. I truly did not expect my post to gain as much traction as it did. I've read so many comments, and my heart is so full. I know it's only been a day since my main story, but a lot of people wanted more context, and I realized my first post was really rushed, so here it goes. Here's the history behind Fido. My grandparents went on their first date to the Lincoln Memorial. My grandmother always loved historical landmarks and statues. Many years later, on their anniversary, my grandpa got her a puppy. He named him Fido in reference to him. For those who don't know, Fido was the name of Abraham Lincoln's dog. So yeah, kind of romantic. He later passed away a few years later, but Fido became her rock and comfort. To give more context to my family, I grew up in a hypocritical, strict religious household. My father was abusive to my mother. He'd hit her, verbally abuse her, and disrespect her all the time. My parents had the belief that men are the breadwinners. They make all the decisions, and a woman is to support them. My mother was the stereotypical housewife who never made any decisions on her own. I like to refer to them as selective Christians, meaning they follow the parts of the Bible that are convenient to them. My parents were homophobic, attended church every Sunday, sang in the choir, and had very strict views on sex before marriage, the regular Christian beliefs. But yet, my father cheated on my mother twice. Each time, my mother took him back. She said it is because we have to forgive if we want to go to heaven. I have an older sister named Abby. When Abby was 17 and I was 15, she got pregnant. My parents disowned her for having had sex before marriage, and they ended up kicking her out of the house. My sister wanted an abortion, but my parents forbade it. My grandmother took her in. She ended up suffering a miscarriage from stress. My grandma was the only one with a sense of reason in my family. She always tried to talk my mother into leaving my father. Stating that the Lord wouldn't want anyone to endure that, she didn't listen. She shamed my mother for putting her own daughter out and took her in. My sister ended up moving out of state for college, and she never turned back. She only spoke to me, and my grandmother and my parents stopped referring to her as their kid. They called her a sinner and said they're ashamed to be her parents. Honestly, this was more my father speaking, but my mother always backed him up regardless of whether she fully agreed. I met my husband in high school. He was the sweetest human you'd ever meet. From his volunteer work, his contributions to the church, and his charm, he was an angel. He always promised me to be different from my father. He gave me a voice, respected me, and loved me. Fast forward a few years. I'm married, 26 years old, and have Elena. My grandmother passed away after complications from a fall. I was crushed. She was my best friend. She was a mother figure when my own mother wasn't. I luckily convinced my mom to let me take Fido. Having Fido felt like I had both of my grandparents with me, in a sense. Fido was my grandmother's pride and joy, and he quickly became ours too. My husband loved Fido. They were the best of friends. He took Fido everywhere he went. We referred to him as our second child. When the drinking started, it was hard. I tried for months to talk to him. I begged him to seek alternatives. I even tried to get him to work for his dad, but he declined. He felt like he was failing as a husband because he couldn't provide. All of his siblings and peers had well-paying jobs and lived extravagant lifestyles, but we couldn't. I tried to tell him I didn't care about that, but he didn't listen. I own my own photography business. I offered to have it be a joint business venture, but he declined. Months and months went on, and the aggressiveness started. When he was drinking, anything I did annoyed him. If I cooked the wrong meal, did something too loudly, or even existed, it annoyed him. He'd go into a rage. He'd punch walls, throw things, hit me, or verbally abuse me. I always knew the signs for when he was about to start. I always made sure that Elena was secluded from it. I'd play her TV loudly, give her headphones, or send her to the neighbors to play with their daughter. She idolized her father, and I never wanted her to experience what I experienced growing up. But after reading some of your comments, you guys made me realize she might have noticed more than I thought. He'd always apologize when he sobbed. He said he was stressed, and he'll change. I was weak. I still am. I was raised to not have a voice, and honestly, I was depending on him. He might not have worked, but his parents paid for our house and bills. But those quickly became words. I had to start wearing long sleeves and makeup to hide my bruises. I first confided in my mother about this. She told me that our duty as wives is to be there for our husbands in their dark times. We took an oath in our vows, and we must stay true to it. I talked to his parents, and they said that I needed to pray and let God heal his heart and wounds. They did try to talk to him, but he'd always get angry at them, and they backed off. I went from family members to church members, wanting help. No one would listen. Seriously, everyone treated this like it was normal. Few did speak out, but it never went far. When my sister found out, she was furious. She urged me to move with her and start over. Escape from my husband and the toxicity of the church and parents. I wanted to, but I was scared. Elena still loves her father, and he never showed her any aggression. And she loves her grandparents. They're better grandparents than they are parents. She tried for months, even confronting my husband, but I wouldn't listen. My husband made me block her, stating because she's an atheist, she's the devil trying to divide us. I begged him for months to go to rehab. I offered to go together. I begged and begged, but he insisted he didn't need it and he'd stop. I just continued to endure more and more. I knew I was near my end when he started coming home drunk and forcing intimacy on me. I was so numb to the abuse that I just let it happen. That's all I will say regarding this, as it's still so hard to speak on that. I started saving my photography money slowly. I wanted to have enough, so if I decided I wanted to turn my back on everything, I could. I got the divorce papers drafted a few weeks before Fido's death. All I wanted was full custody. He could have everything else. The house, the cars, joint bank accounts, all of it. They were all his anyway. I hid the papers on my nightstand until I felt like I finally had the courage to hand them to him. But I now regret this decision. This last month or so was a roller coaster. I thought we had a come to Jesus moment when he missed Elena's first cheerleading game. He was too drunk to even walk to come. He saw the disappointment in her face and said he had to get better for her. I believed him. He still denied going to rehab, stating he could stop on his own. He stopped for all of 1 week, and the old habits picked back up. Then everything happened. He unalived Fido. I have been floored. He died right in my arms. It's as if I lost Fido and both my grandparents all over again. I had enough. He was arrested shortly after. I spent the whole night crying. I had to explain to Elena what happened. And boy, is this girl strong. I felt like she was my parent because of the way she comforted me. I cried myself to sleep. The next day, I told everyone who called to check on me that I was divorcing him. And that's when the comments that I mentioned in the first post happened. I called my sister, who was the only person to comfort me. I didn't have any friends. I was always socially awkward. She's all I have outside of my daughter. When my parents yelled at me the comment of Fido being just a dog, that was enough. That's when I called my lawyer and told him I was going through with a divorce. I blocked my parents and his family. I left the papers, grabbed the essentials, and left for the hotel. His parents bailed him out, and he went home and saw the papers. That is when the texting and calls began. I finally picked up that night after I got Elena to bed and answered by sobbing. He apologized over and over about Fido, saying it was an accident, and he'd never do that on purpose. He said for real this time he's done, and he'll go to rehab. He promised therapy and to never do anything to hurt me again. Now I know what you all are thinking it's BS. But I know this man. I know when he's telling the truth, and he is. I feel like he finally had his come to Jesus moment. But is it bad that I feel it's too late? I told him I needed time and hung up. It's been nonstop with the texts and calls. That's why I came to Reddit. It was more me needing a vent than anything. And boy, did you all make me feel supported. The first comment I saw was, "That could have been your daughter. He hit her while she played in the yard." That made my heart sink. I'm afraid that he could relapse at any moment. I know it's part of my religion to forgive, but I don't know if I can. Here's the update so far. I've been talking to my sister. She's working with her husband to come get us. Her husband will take me to the house to get the rest of my things. Her husband is 6'7" and 300 pounds. So my husband has always feared him a bit. So I don't think we'll have any problems. Elena is taking this all so well. I plan on having a conversation with her about the length of what's happening when we're settled. Right now, I'm lost. I was with that man since I was 17. 15 years, you guys. He saw me in my weakest moments, and I knew the man he was. This hurts. That's the part that hurts more than the death. Right now, I'm not ready to talk to him or my family. I just need space. And for all of you who are saying this is fake, what do you want from me? You want pictures of my bruises, text messages, the tire marks from the grass, pictures of my swollen eyes from crying. What? I could give you more detail than any fake story ever could. This is my life right now. I'm in shambles. But for those of you who've been supporting me and sending me private messages, thank you. It truly means the world to me with all the advice and wisdom. That's all I have for now. It'll probably be a while before I update you guys again. The plan is to move with my sister and try to get the divorce finalized uncontested. Again, thank you all for the support. It's truly helping me get through this awful time. Right now, I feel like I failed. I failed my grandpa, my grandmother, Fido, and my daughter. This could have been avoided if I had left a month ago when I had the papers. My sister was right. And honestly, I've come to the realization that if this is what being a good Christian feels like, then I don't want to be one anymore. Comments. Fairmount 1955. I'm sorry this is happening to you, and I'm glad you have family. I hope his unaliving an animal and you realizing how incredibly dangerous he is to you and your kids trump any religious priority about forgiveness. You can forgive and stay away from him. I only say that because this is how incredibly dangerous and dire things are. I know when he's telling the truth, and he is. I feel like he finally had his come to Jesus moment. Only time will truly prove this. Thank you for watching the video. If you are interested in listening to these kinds of stories, we've got more in store for you. Simply subscribe to our channel, hit the like button, and share it with your friends.